It's time to analyze where we've been versus where we would like to be. Have we been closely tracking production, or are we merely satisfied with the numbers on our paycheck? Having covered this ground previously, a reference to this subject is offered here. How else could we assess the situation? In the military, a forward observer notes the effectiveness of artillery aircraft and naval gunfire and relays information regarding its accuracy. Acting as a sort of forward observer myself, it has been an honor and privilege to work with a vast pool of talented people. However, we must realize that regardless of the depth of our talents, everyone brings different strengths and weaknesses to the table. The key is to accurately identify the competencies versus areas for improvement of the individuals concerned to effectively embellish their strengths and minimize their weaknesses. To this point, some time back, the opportunity arose to work with a particularly talented individual we will refer to as Carl. His production was already good, and he had been working as a business manager for quite a while. However, his employer was unsatisfied with his results, and he found himself to be the low person on his department's production totem pole. His job was apparently on the line. Time to get busy. After quietly sitting in on several of his transactions on Carl's side of the desk next to him, it quickly became clear that Carl was not enjoying his career. Something was missing. At the conclusion of the workday, as we were taking a collective break, it was time to share my observations. I moved to the guest side of the desk to compose my thoughts. From here, I asked Carl what he thought his greatest strengths and weaknesses were. His responses regarding his points of competency were agreeable enough, but when it came to discussing the opportunities for improvement, well, it is here where we disagreed. Carl thought that a personal trait of his was interfering with his production. That wasn't the issue at all. I explained that what was holding things up, at least in my opinion, was that his process and presentation was reminiscent of a trip to the license office. Very clinical, sterile, not particularly enjoyable. Apparently, somewhere along the way, Carl had gotten the idea that professionalism required a very mundane approach. It's time to put on a show. Once the issue was accurately identified and ideas for improving his process and presentation were reviewed, Carl immediately committed to adjusting fire. He dedicated himself to modifying his process, adopted new word tracks, created his menus a little differently, and most importantly, was now having fun. When I reached out to Carl about 10 days after our collaboration, he shared that he had no idea how unhappy he had been until he was no longer unhappy. His productivity had increased by over 25%, and at the time of this writing was up over 70%. Let's ask ourselves, what sort of show are we giving our guests? Now, consider Sir Elton John's career. Of course, he's not in the car business. That's not the point. Recently, his net worth was estimated at nearly $550 million. We don't even have to like his music to agree he is a success, at least as far as using money as a barometer is concerned. Is it because he's the greatest singer, songwriter, pianist, or composer on the planet? Probably not. But he is undeniably an entertainer. We don't have to wear funny-looking sunglasses or flamboyant costumes to get the job done either. All we must do is consider the value of an engaging, fun, and enjoyable exchange with our guests for all parties involved. After all, isn't that what we always provide the folks with whom we've dealt previously who are now requesting us? Aren't they far more likely to be receptive to our message? Let's consider our rehearsal. With whom could we make a presentation that will provide us an accurate, fair assessment of the quality of our work? Let's ask our audience, Is this exchange engaging? Are we bringing levity to the table? Do they like us? Do they like what they hear? And do they want to be liked by us? Will they want to work with us the next time they buy? And at the end of the day, isn't our productivity the most accurate barometer of all? Think about it. Good luck and good selling.